The Flying Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporters Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flying Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be in a catch player than it is a pro.
In this club, you don't play just for the club. You play for the ball.
Swap, car of the week, trivia question of the week.
Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Flying Lion podcast. Thanks for joining us tonight on an awesome FC Cincinnati win against Nashville. We're going to cover this one and then talk about a whole bunch of FC Cincinnati news that came out of this week. Sam, how we doing?
Doing great. Coming into this match, I know there were a lot of different things that were thrown our way that we weren't really expecting. Obviously the past couple of matches haven't gone our way, and for something like this to go down, it's reinvigorating, right? Like you almost kind of feel like hopeful again, like, okay, actually, we could win Supporters Shield. Like, why not us? Type mentality. And I can't wait to break this down. We've got so much to talk about. I mean, literally the past 2 weeks, Ryan, or even week, has been just news on and off the field. So I can't wait to touch on all of it.
Yeah, it's one of those episodes where you're like, man, I cannot wait to talk about this one. Like one of the most memorable nights in TQL in a long time. I think a lot of people can agree with that. So match day 32, Nashville at home, coming off of 2 straight matches without a single goal at home and 2 straight losses. So this was very refreshing to get a 2-1 victory. Overall, now 17-9-4 on the year. It felt good. Like, overall, definitely pleased with the outcome. Throughout it, definitely sweating some of it, so we'll get into that. But we knew going in, Sam, a win over Nashville would secure a playoff bid for the 4th consecutive year. A draw could possibly get us in, depending on other results, but why not go out and win it? In the lineup, a little surprise that comes, if you want to say the wrinkle, the day ahead of time, we see the availability report. And Roman Celentano, not on the team sheet. Big talking point there. What else did you see in this lineup, Sam?
Yeah, obviously that was the clear one away. Getting that news was kind of just gut-wrenching because he's started every single MLS match. He's up there with maybe 5-6 other guys in the entire MLS that have played every single game and started every single game. So not having him, it was kind of like, oh, here we go. I guess we'll see. But I think that's the clear one there. But you've got guys coming back from injury, which is good. You got Miles Robinson back in the back line there. You've got Orishano still back, playing left wing back now. But then the mix up too, that you see is obviously it took a little while for Kevin Denke to get back from Africa, right? So he's not as involved in training. And so Jabari gets his first career start with FC Cincinnati. So that was something that you're looking at and looking forward to as well.
Yeah, I just definitely was shocked about the Roman thing. Coming out of U.S. Team camp, he didn't even make the bench against Japan, so we were wondering what was going on with him. And then I guess he must have taken a knock. Hopefully it's nothing long-term. Really haven't heard a lot about that. But yeah, Leroux steps in. It was his 2nd career MLS start, last one being in April of 2024 against the Red Bulls. 5th overall appearance for FC Cincinnati. And honestly, Leroux stepped in a big way. Like, we needed him to do that. And besides that, like you mentioned with Denke, we're always worried about this international break, especially with these guys traveling so far. He doesn't get back until late Thursday, trains on Friday, but, not quite ready to start and play a full 90 minutes, but does come in the second half, at least, and plays 45. So, I really felt like let's still see kind of what we have out of this crew. Mainly the spine is there, of the people that we knew that were available. Energy in the first 15 minutes looked pretty positive compared to what we had seen in prior matches. I think, Leroux, number one, keeps us in it with some good saves. But Orishano was really going at guys down that left wing, slotting balls across. And we just unfortunately saw a couple of guys that were flat-footed, one being Denke. I think Jabari hits one way over as well on a very nice setup that we saw coming down that left side. We didn't really see a ton of offensive, minded play on the right, at least in the first half. But Sam, what'd you see in that first half? I felt like overall, like pretty solid again, but the complaint was just no goals, like 2.5 games straight, no goals.
Yeah, I think, like you said, just missed opportunities. I think Brenner probably had the biggest missed opportunity there, just outside the 6-yard box, to be able to put one away and go up 1-0. But yeah, I felt good about it. We were moving the ball pretty well, looking the best we've seen this group of players play together, the past couple games. Obviously, offensively, it's been stale, right, up front. So it was nice to see Luciano pushing up that left side, being able to create stuff for the guys in the middle. But yeah, Leroux also just standing on his head a little bit on, I think, 1 or 2 instances there in the first half to keep the game alive. But going into half, I didn't feel too terrible. It was almost like, okay, like let's build off this energy in the first 45 and hopefully we get a goal or 2 in the second.
It almost felt like Philly, very same score line, and then they get a goal out at half. It's like we got to go and dictate the game if this is how we want to play, and if we want to win this match, especially against, we're second in the East, they're fourth, so it's a crucial game. So let's go and seize that. And you could tell the guys were definitely creative with that. There were chances where, again, tap-ins that we just put way over, and you got to have those in the MLS, and especially against these top teams in the East. So, the one that you mentioned with Leroux that comes to mind was Hani Mukhtar gets down around, the 18, maybe around the PK spot, slots it over to his winger, and Leroux makes a point-blank save on it. We go on the counter, actually, that led to that chance that we skied over. So very nice transition moment for the orange and blue, but again, there's a little bit of some cracks there in the back line that were showing themselves, even early on in this one.
Yeah, I think you're right about that one. But going into the second half, Ryan, I know, right away, Denke comes on for Jabari, and you and I are kind of like, well, I mean, Jabari didn't play bad. It wasn't like he came off because he played bad. It was more Pat Noonan wanted, Denke to get back out there, get his, starter legs going for the last 45, and figured maybe a different pace of play could be good for the second half. So we definitely saw that Denke had a couple chances right off the bat. Leroux with another save to kind of keep us in it, but I mean, took a little while in the second half to get going there.
Yeah, it was the one I think that you mentioned that the guys at the top of the box for Nashville and hits a stinger into the top 90, and Leroux makes it kind of a tip save over it to start, and that could have easily been 0-1 for them. But yeah, I really felt like, especially with Denke, the shift in strikers. Jabari is a big physical guy. He's 6'4". He's going to be more of that hold up guy. In the first half, like, it was all one-sided. Like, Surge got a few calls and Jabari didn't, and I think it was frustrating. So in the second half, I was interested to see how that would look with Denke. How would he pair with Brenner again? And how would they create chances, especially in a pretty physical back line with Nashville? But yeah, I mean, Leroux kept us in it. That was the most important thing. And then finally we struck 73rd minute. Like, what a moment. The Brazilian connection, for those who are not watching, I believe Sam might even have a jersey on for you guys, I believe, right? Is that not what do you have on? Is it not a Brazil?
I got a City jersey.
Oh, it
there,
looked
my
like
guy. We won the Derby. We won the Derby
like
yesterday.
A Brazil kit. Okay, it did look like a Brazil kit.
Maybe next week.
My bad. But anyway, the Brazilian connection for the first time. We've been waiting to see it. How would this look? Evander created space. He kind of pulled the ball back off of the defender as he comes a little bit off of the half spot and plays this unbelievable ball. But to be kind of under or overlooked on this play actually is Denke draws 2 center backs. So if you look at the movement, Brenner's coming in, Denke's going across, draws both center backs, open space for Brenner. I almost felt like his first touch is a little too heavy, but he slots it away. And what a moment. I mean, we needed it.
Ryan, we need a whiteboard for you. We need like you with a whiteboard, yeah. moving the formations here in the future. But yes, absolutely. Just the wherewithal for Evander to wait on it, right? He could have easily played that ball to the first run that was Denke, and then Denke would have had a very, very tough look at goal or had to wait for help in order to, pass it into the 18 somewhere else. But I mean, Evander to once again wait on that pass, find Brenner. It was a good enough touch, right? Because I mean, there was some heat on it, right? Evander has to get that into that spot, just to get it in front of Brenner for him to even have a chance on goal. So just a phenomenal finish by Brenner too, to kind of get it underneath the goalkeeper to the left. Just, I mean, all in all, great, just team goal as well. I know it was coming off a turnover as well. So once again, being able to create on the defensive end to create the offensive end.
Yeah, I think another thing that I kind of picked up from this moment, it was just unbelievable to see, Brenner score again in front of the Bailey, but his celebration is very remnant of when he scored a hat trick against NYCFC at home. He goes down to the sideline, takes off his jersey, throws it up, and kind of does a jump celebration, very, very similar to that. And I wanted to get a side-by-side video of the two. It's just unbelievable. But to see him so happy about scoring again in the orange and blue, I mean, that's just so special to see. We can go and talk a little bit, maybe here in a bit just about the rest of his game, but as a striker, you want to get that goal, and he does. So I can't be too mad about it. I do have some critiques that I will get to. But after this moment, Sam, it was just so bizarre. We score, and then it's probably a solid 5 minutes where just chaos ensues for FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, injuries, just changes, subs, etc. I mean, Ryan, I noted
Potential
here,
subs, but then doesn't happen.
no, yeah, exactly. And here in 4 minutes, you get 3 different changes from FC Cincinnati. I think this is kind of where the game took its turn, right, in the wrong direction. And you've got, first of all, Alvis Powell on for Dominic Marczuk.
Who, by the way, had a really good match.
Really good match down the right side. Very good. Then you get Hidebe in for Miazga, and that Miazga injury, it was very worrisome, right? You're seeing glimpses of the disheveled Miazga that we saw, when he was out last season. So it's very, very tough for, FCC fans to watch that. And then you see Samuel Giddy come in for Anunga, who also kind of takes a little bit of a knock there towards, the latter half of the second half. And you're wondering what's going on here.
Well, the wild part about it is Lucas Engel's actually the first one to go down.
Yeah.
So he's going up, I believe, for a header, and he gets into this 1v1 battle. It's kind of a cheap shot by the Nashville guy. So Engel's down for a while. You're thinking, well, they have to make a sub, for him. He finally gets up. He's kind of working it out on the sideline. And then you see Miazga kind of pointing at his hip flexor and his hip. And I'm just thinking, what is going on all of a sudden? So now you have 2 guys potentially out. Both of them are, off of the field, technically, kind of by, whatever way you want to look at it, in the ref's eyes. But luckily, they let us sub on, Hidebe for Matt. Hopefully, it's nothing, too long term for him. I think he was playing a long ball when he felt it give. So it's probably groin, hip flexor, something like that. But hopefully not, again, something too long. But then you get, like you said, Anunga with his situation. His was cramps. You could tell right away. They went and stretched his calf. So, but Giddy was supposed to come in sooner after we scored. And then Engel goes down. Then Miazga goes down. So it kind of gets pushed back. I see him, run back down to the corner and get warmed up. And he was like a little disheveled about it, but was like laughing. Like, man, I thought I was going to make my debut. But he has to wait, because the 84th minute, all of a sudden, this counterattack by Nashville kind of catches us off guard. Sam, what did you see in this goal?
I mean, I saw kind of a ball that historically has given FC Cincinnati problems, and that's just balls over the top, honestly. I think people playing direct, against FC Cincinnati have seen a lot of, success. And this is just kind of what happens. Robinson and Engel get caught with the ball, in behind them, and nobody's on the back stick, like you had said, to help Laura out. And honestly, Laura does a phenomenal job to even get anything on it, almost stops it. And unfortunately goes, just into the roof of the goal. But yeah, I know we have talked about countless times, our left wing back, right wing backs, whoever will be tracking back. In this, you look at the replay, or you look even like the match itself, Orishano is walking back. like walking or jogging back on that left side. And he, when the goal was scored, wasn't even close to the 18-yard box. So in a moment like that, you're going, dude, like that was supposed to be you. You were supposed to help out on that back post.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. What drew my attention to it, I mean, number one, great point. The ball over the top has given us troubles. Luckily, in this match we had Miles Robinson that was quick, at least in some chase downs. But in this one, I think there was a miscommunication. It's played out there, and then all three defenders get drawn to the ball. You see Powell go towards it. You see, I believe Miles was around there as well, maybe trying to block the cross. And then I believe there was no communication with Angle because Angle slides kind of over that way as well. And technically, if your left wing back is out, way up high on the pitch, he's got to stay back home with the runner in the middle. I don't know how you leave the golden boot potential winner in the MLS, wide open on the back stick. So you got to have better communication. Maybe that's a product of Miles, being out for the last couple of weeks. But yeah, you got to talk there in that situation. And what it really came down to, like you said, the big switch was for a solid 78 minutes, the defense looked pretty good. There was opportunities for Nashville, but there was good communication. You get, these changes that come in a short amount of time, and you have to really kind of react. So it was unfortunate. It had to be Surridge. I think if anyone was going to bet on a goal for any team, it was going to be him. And you're right. Leroux makes almost an incredible kind of kick save at it. But it's at that point, 1-1, 84th minute at home. We finally got that first goal in 2.5 matches. And you're like, are we really about to tie this game? So I was really pulling for a solid amount of extra time, number one. But we get to the 90th minute, and what's really underplayed in this, and I know we've been critical of Pat Noonan with his subs sometimes, but I really think that a really solid sub in this match was to put Ender, in the 90+ third minute. He subs him in. Alvis Powell slides back to a center back role. They take Angle out, which was a huge risk in my opinion. I felt like Engle's had some solid matches in left center back filling in there. So they slide Powell over. They put Ender out wide, and Ender changed the match for the last 5 minutes. Nobody can keep up with his pace.
His speed around the outside is ridiculous. I know there was an instance where, his touch wasn't the best or his dribbling wasn't the best, and he got himself out of a jam, right? By just going around the defender and just being faster than him, right?
Well, the guy was like gassed, and I just feel like having that guy in just to change the pace.
I mean, what a risk! What a risk!
We've had Santos, but we haven't seen guys that are that fast with the ball be able to go at guys late on in the match like that. Like Orishano can do it early on, but towards the end when you're gassed, like that's your opportunity. And so credit to Pat for seeing that and to take a chance. Honestly, it's sliding Alvis back like that and taking Angle out, maybe a little bit too, just to make sure that Angle doesn't have a long-term injury. But yeah, I felt like besides that, he had a few other chances that were pretty solid. But we see just an unbelievable goal, 90+ 8th minute, a 1-2 with, again, Ender with Buka. Buka back heels it. Ender finds, Evander just coming in on a late run who just smashes the ball. And TQL was going crazy. I mean, one of the coolest moments I've seen in a long, long time. And the vibes were immaculate.
I mean, that's beautiful soccer right there. Right there. Being able to see just a 1-2 and then play to a guy with who is an MVP caliber player. You're giving him like 5 yards of space around him at the end of the game in the 18. I mean, what a goal, right? What a moment in FC Cincinnati history, to be honest. And I think everyone, right, kind of felt it like almost just this huge sigh of relief, just like, whew, like, wow, like we just witnessed something very cool, but man, was it really close to being, like you said, that's one of those, because I know we were talking about results, from the past couple of weeks. Like if we get a draw, but we feel good about the draw, right? That's fine, right? Not a big deal. We played well. A 1-1 draw where you're winning and you let up, the tying goal in the
Again at
last
home.
10 minutes, right at home, you're leaving that game like, man, it almost feels like a loss. So happy we can get out of this one 2-1, and we're still in this thing.
Yeah, it's just, again, I can't stress enough like how important that felt, and I think a lot of the players, could see that as well. Evander scores with, the crest kiss and everything as well. Like there's a lot of arguments, for and against that, as we've seen with Lucho in the past. But I think like he just feels the moment, and big players make, big chances and big goals right there. So that's your MVP. That's what you needed. And you got it with 1 goal and 1 assist for him on the night. But yeah, like you said, second in the East now, 2 points back, third in Supporter Shield. Just some dominoes kind of fall our way, Sam. If Philly just gets smashed, they have a 7-0 loss to Vancouver. Just insane. And then San Diego also loses as well. Miami also loses. So again, it's really helping our cause to say, okay, we have, a few games left, but why not try to just win as many as you can and see where it goes? And like we talked with Tom last week, it starts with 1 win, and let's see where we can go from there. So what came out of this one for me, Sam, one of the most impressive stats here, the first MLS team ever to get 55 wins in a 3-year stretch. What an unbelievable accomplishment for this team, especially after, what we had seen the first several years in the MLS. Let's completely just rid of all of that history and go to this stretch right now, even if you want to extend it out 4 years now, hitting the playoffs. But 55 wins, the most ever of any MLS team. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think for an accomplishment like this, I think, Ryan, you go above Pat Noonan, you go above Chris Albright. You look at Jeff Birding, you look at the Lindners that have put in the time and the effort to actually make this team better. They took a hard look at themselves in the mirror after 3 wooden spoons in a row and went, we've got to change some stuff. Let's get some people in the building that know what they're talking about, that know what they're doing. And it's refreshing, right? Because in Cincinnati sports, we're just trying to beat a dead horse at this point, right? In the other franchises. And honestly, just what an accomplishment. Like you said, 3-year span, 55 wins, at least every single year. Just another thing that we can say that no other MLS team has ever done.
Yeah, no, it's pretty special. Now, the next step for that is to go get that cup. I think that puts a lot of validity to what this stretch is. Obviously, we do have 1 trophy that comes out of that, but you have to kind of make even more noise if you want to validate some of that too. But out of this match, Sam, Evander gets his team of the match day performance for the 10th time this season. Lucho had 12 last season, I think was the most we've ever seen, but I think Evander's well on his way, like I had tweeted out today, to a best 11 selection, likely, in the MLS, just for an unbelievable year. Does he put his name back into the MVP conversation, with this as well? I think you have to look at it. He doesn't have the most goal contributions, but he's leading a team where, we're very close to potentially having that Supporters Shield. And I think that weighs highly, for the end of season awards sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think your team being in it, does make or break sometimes. You got a guy in San Diego that's putting up some great numbers as well as they make a Supporter Shield push. So we'll see, how that works. But as Ryan mentioned before, this was Evander's the goal was the second latest in club history. Lucho Acosta, being last season against Philly, was in the 10th minute of extra time. And then this also, this is Evander's 21st goal in all competitions, and it matches Lucho's 2023 record, Ryan. So we're 1, goal away from Evander becoming the greatest goal scorer in FC Cincinnati history.
In his first season with the club, man, it's just unbelievable. We set this guy up for success, and that's what you need for a team to be where they're at, and for him to be in the MVP conversation, have all these, lethal weapons around him. It's a no-brainer for him to, go out and do this. But there's some games where he's really taken the bull by the horns and just done it all himself. There's matches like this last one where for 70 minutes, like he was there, but he wasn't all the way kind of like doing his thing. I think there's still an adjustment period of him playing with Brenner, and it might be overlooked because you see what happens at the end of the game. And obviously he does connect with Brenner, but there's still moments where I think before, like, let's say, pre-Brenner, Evander goes and he might shoot a shot and it's just an unbelievable goal. But now he's trying to find his buddy and create that moment as well. So I really look for him to find those pockets of space and be, kind of a one-man wrecking crew in times, and understand the moments when to do that and when it's better to play it. And I don't know why I'm questioning the guy, because of course he's going to figure it out. He's unbelievable. I think arguably having one of the best seasons we've ever seen. And again, in his first season with a new club, it's been special. But cool to see Brenner get another goal with FC Cincinnati. He's got 28 now in his orange and blue career. First goal for us since March of 2023 against Seattle Sounders during that Shield year. But everyone kind of forgets that because he was gone by, the end of June. And then we did get Samuel Giddy that made his FCC appearance. Sam, what do you think of his debut for the club?
Short-lived, obviously. You only get about 10 minutes of it, a little over 10 minutes, but I thought it was great. I thought it was fine. I thought his energy was good. You could see, honestly, just the way his movement, right, is the thing that stuck out to me the most. And honestly, I need to see a little bit more, obviously, because it was just a sub appearance. But from what I saw, I thought it was pretty solid.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He obviously had a mistake where he, around midfield, he plays the ball right to the Nashville guy that led to a break. But that's a learning moment. He's a young player. I saw a lot of energy, like you said, that, in the midfield spot we might have been lacking, especially when you sub in this guy and you're looking for a goal. So you have a young player. Is he going to play the safe route, or is he going to be a little bit more aggressive? And I really think the guy's ball progression is the big part of his game. But to be able to come into the match and really get balls to where it needed to be, out wide to the forwards, I'm looking forward to seeing this guy, in a larger sample size, like you mentioned. But Sam, take us through some storylines that come out of this match. Again, a huge one for us. Finally getting a solid win against a playoff team. We had been a little bit lacking the last few weeks on that. But what did you see?
Yeah, so obviously storylines coming out of this one. The main one being, are we still in the hunt for the Supporters Shield? Is it out of reach yet? And I think we had asked this question, or a similar question, right? Maybe not last episode, but a couple episodes ago. Maybe each episode, right? It's been like, is it done? Are we done? I don't think we're done. I don't think we're done, man. I mean, if things go the way they go, and Philly or San Diego, I mean, this is the MLS, anything can happen. We do have somewhat of a tall task that we'll talk about at the end of the episode, going out west and then having to come back home. Anytime travel or, anything else is involved, it's always going to be, a factor. So to me, I think it's still well within reach.
It's a good shout. I think, I'd be cautiously optimistic. Let's say that, because,
Always.
If we go by Pat's method, he's just going to take it, game by game, and let's just win and see where we're at. And if we win it, we win it. But it's a little bit out of our hands at this point. In some regards, you need some favorable results. So I'm looking at Philly's schedule. They have 4 matches left in MLS play. They play at home against New England, who just fired their manager. They play at DC, who had already fired their manager earlier on in the season. But then the last 2 games get a little bit challenging for them. They play at home against NYCFC, who's been on a heater of late. And then they do go and play at Charlotte on decision day. So
hottest team in the MLS.
If it comes down to a final day, does Philly get a result and we're playing Montreal at home and they're playing at Charlotte, I really favor our chances in that. So
I'm sure we'll break it down as we get closer. But Ryan, as of right now, 4 games out, I don't think we've seen an MLS season coming down to decision day like it is right now. The past couple of seasons. right?
It's exciting. I think there's a lot of buzz, obviously, around the NFL, maybe a little bit about the, baseball playoffs, not in Cincinnati. But, it's just felt like the season's kind of dragged in some ways. Maybe people have kind of tailed off. If you really look at it, like Sam said, the top 4 teams in Supporters Shield are separated by 4 points.
Yeah.
And Miami has 4 games in hand, so potentially they could be up there as well. They're not. Let's just put that out there. But I really see, a fun stretch coming down here. It could really make it, like Sam, we've seen it in Premier Leagues where, we're sitting in the stands looking at what's going on, next door in London or, in Philly, what's going on in Charlotte when, Philly's playing this match. I think it's going to come down to that, and it's going to be
That would be awesome.
It's going to be
great.
unbelievable. So stay tuned for that. It's going to get really exciting. So if we look at the playoff seeding, potentially as well, and what comes out of that, we sit at second in the East. It'll be really interesting to see who we're paired up with.
So we're no longer paired up with the Crew. I think because
That's important.
they won.
Yep.
So I think they're in the 6th spot rather
anyone
than
you get
7.
in this East is a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Like you have to take probably it's going to be so first round best of 3. You're going to go all 3 matches. I just don't see it with the teams that are in the top 9 right now. Maybe Chicago if you're the top seed and you play them, who's sitting in 9th right now. But besides that, I think obviously the East is dominant. We talked about it earlier on in the season. It's just so much more competitive than the West, even though there is some juggernauts. I mean, you see Vancouver smack the living snot out of Philly, who was rotated, but still. So, it'll be interesting to see. Again, this is a week-by-week thing. Every week, it's kind of fun to say, all right, well, now this is looking like the situation. So, it's really just going to come down to the final week and where we see that. But Sam, unfortunately, after this match, we see several defenders going down with these injuries. I kind of touched on it before. Miazga, I think they're going to be very cautious with, especially with what happened last year. I think you probably don't, unfortunately, see him start out west. We'll touch on that later. Hip flexor, probably from what I could see, maybe groin is where he was kind of pointing, and based on what they described. Lucas Engel, he came back in the match, had to be subbed out late on. I think that was more of a tactic for getting another attacking player. But the same token, they didn't want to stress him out, knowing what maybe with Matt, what was going on. Engel, Sam, has just been phenomenal in that role. So I'm hoping to see him, able to go. Again, another player that maybe we don't see out in LA. And then Brian Anunga with cramps. I feel a little bit better about his odds with coming back and playing, but I'm going to talk about it later with that situation too. So any thoughts on that before we keep moving along?
No, obviously these guys are going to be crucial players coming down the stretch here, and especially for that back line. Like we had said, we've got all these fancy, shiny attacking pieces. The defense is where we need to really, really try and hang our hat, because that's going to be crucial down the stretch of this season,
especially in the playoffs. I mean, if you want to win, you got to be a solid defensive team, and it's been kind of up and down. So we'll see where that goes. But part of the defense, Miles Robinson, Sam, signs a contract extension through 2027, option for 28. The details come out this past week that he will be named a designated player when the season starts in 2026. A little bit of a head-scratching move. I think you might see maybe another DP spot pop up in the MLS. I think that would kind of make sense if we were able to slot that away. It's very controversial. Is it deserved? I think he's been a solid player. I don't think he's been the best player. But, to pay him that price, it's interesting. And the fact that he can't be bought down, let's put that out there as well. So at any point, we can't put him back down to a TAM player. Sam, your thoughts?
I'm happy to have him around for a guaranteed another 2 seasons. I think that's phenomenal for both parties. Keeps Miles active, right? So that way he can play for the U.S. men's national team at some points, and then you have that option for 2028. So depending on where both sides are at, we could continue further with a relationship, or if he wants to go overseas or where he wants to spend the rest of his career. But Yeah, I think that's the biggest question, right? That has been going around FCC land is this deserved? You talk about the quality of play that he's brought, and without a doubt, he's been the defender that we have never had that has been able to track down an attacker like he has. So that's something that unique that we have never seen, in an FC Cincinnati jersey. But at the same time, I think he gets this raise, an extended contract, if you will, based off of statistics. Both times, Ryan, he has been an MLS All-Star, right, with FC Cincinnati. That's what I mean by statistics or achievements, or he's a 2-time All-Star. So
You hold a lot of weight on the All-Star.
I don't.
Okay.
I'm
Right.
saying FC Cincinnati does, because clearly
Sam, I struggle with it because I think that at times Miazga's been, deserving
he
of
was
this
defender
spot
of the
more
year.
than Miles, of course, but he's a little bit later on in his career. Miles is in the prime. So if you want to keep a player, in the league, and to kind of be your anchor moving forward, in that familiarity, then is that what we had to do to keep him? Like, that would be the question. Did we have to go to that level to say we're going to secure you long term? And what does that do to the roster moving forward? What kind of limitations will that put on us? Does that mean Brenner, isn't going to fit in? I mean, if he wants to stay, he can't be a DP. So it's a little bit challenging, but if anyone's going to figure out any of this, it's Chris Albright. So I'm not necessarily worried. Like, we're fretting about the part of it that we've just seen him masterfully get through. So you can't think that he doesn't know something's coming for next year, or there's some sort of way that we can get through this without being hamstrung. I really have faith in him and what I've seen, and that's over a larger portion of time now. We just need Miles to play at that level and to stay at that level. And in this match, he didn't do as well, but he's coming off of an injury. I hope there's not the excuses of Miles is never available, because unfortunately in the last seasons, he's been at the US, but he hasn't played, and he comes back and he's not quite as, good as we've seen him at times. So the consistency is where I think he can really live up to what we've done with him. And I'm really hopeful because he's got all the assets to do that. He's got the leadership quality, as well. Hopefully it doesn't create a rift in the locker room, but I think ultimately these guys are professionals. They understand the limitations of the league and what we might have to do to keep a premium player like this around. So blind faith, but happy for Miles, happy that he's going to be around too. We'll see where it goes. But Sam, before we go to a break, what do you got for a trivia question?
Yeah, so surrounding, this, Miles, I mean, like you said, congrats to him becoming, highest paid center back in the MLS next season. But so based off of that, trivia question of the week presented by Goals TV. When was the last time FC Cincinnati had a defender occupy a designated player spot?
Testing my knowledge of the old DP spots. I'm going to say we've never had it. I feel like Kendall Waston might be a shout, because he was higher up there in salary, but I just don't think we've ever done it. I'm not confident, but that's what I'm going to lock in.
Okay. I guess we'll see on the other side, but, stick with us. And like I said, you'll see us on the other side.
Hey, everyone. Just a quick message from Ryan and Sam here at the Flying Lion Podcast. We wanted to share some exciting news with you. The Flying Lion Podcast has officially partnered with Chatterbox Sports. We are very excited to be a part of the Chatterbox community, as they have proven to give you the very best coverage of Cincinnati sports thus far.
For those who are new to the Flying Line Podcast, we cover FC Cincinnati news, game recaps, analysis, and unique segments such as our trivia question of the week, jersey swap of the week, card of the week. Give us a listen on our post-match shows on every away game on Chatterbox YouTube, and our weekly episodes wherever you get your podcast. Thank you again for your support.
Thanks again for listening to us tonight, or today, whichever day you're listening to this on. But what a fun, week to cover. Just getting a win against Nashville. And Sam, we didn't we didn't formally say it yet, a season sweep of Nashville as well. So love to see that against a forced rival. It's pretty one-sided this year.
Very one-sided. Being able to take the home and away in the series, it's always a phenomenal feeling.
Kind of, temporarily shuts up the talk about this being a rivalry if you are dominating it year to year. But on a winning week, Sam, jersey swap of the week, what'd you have?
My jersey swap of the week this week is going to go, one or the other, but deciding to go with the first Brazilian, and that is Brenner. He is my jersey swap of the week. Brian, he opened the scoring in the 73rd minute. Cool, calm, collected finish. First goal since returning to FC Cincinnati since March 2023. So obviously, his exit, super controversial. But now he's mending his relationship with the city, showing up to the Bearcats football game last week, just trying to get in the mood of the city, right? To be on the fans' good side. And obviously his chemistry with Evander is only going to grow from here. So obviously the welcome home moment was awesome. Him being able to, like you said, just take off the jersey and relive kind of what he had previously at FC Cincinnati. It felt good, right? It felt right. And I don't know how long he's going to be here for, but we're going to enjoy the time that we have for Brenner now.
Sam's feeling some of the Joga Bonito love, all that Brazilian flair. He's loving it right now. He's feeling like, a little beachy, wants to play. No, it's been fun, man. I love it. I actually really enjoy seeing these two guys hopefully, really come together and gel. But, they're doing their, post-game press conference together. Before, we didn't even have a translator for Portuguese, but now you have Brenner and Evander as best buds. Like, you couldn't have asked for a better kind of like pairing for the two. But for all of that being said, Sam, Brenner had moments in this game where I will press back on you and say that I just felt like he was a little lacking. And I really want to see more of him, hold up the ball or even go to the ball. There's times where he's waiting on it, where he needs to kind of press towards it, show a little bit more energy. But hey, it's his second game back for the club, and he scores, in a very meaningful game. I can't be too upset, but if I had to ask for more as we move forward, that would be kind of my critique on it. There's moments where I think he has a little bit of some lapses in the match, and I want him to be more connected. But again, he scored. He had a great moment, and to see him so happy in like even post after the match, like this is like where I feel like I belong. Like it's one of those things where like you leave, you realize like, man, the grass isn't as green as, it was in Cincinnati, even though it's dead outside right now because of the drought. But
not on the pitch. That pitch looks beautiful.
The pitch looks real nice. But yeah, I just feel like it's a nice fit for him, and he's really starting to understand that. And maybe that unlocks, his best soccer like it did before. He's still young. I mean, we have so much more time of Brenner, and I feel like he's going to do a lot to make that happen versus old Brenner might have said, I'm more in it for X, Y, and Z, but that's not the case right now.
Yeah. Are we going to get him back on a TAM deal? Who knows?
Find out.
He's happy here. He's happy. And that's the thing that matters. If you're happy and scoring goals, who cares how much you're getting paid? I don't know. That's just me, right? But Ryan, what was your jersey swap?
Sam, a person that you haven't heard from me, I don't think all season long, maybe one time, but Lucas Engel, you are my jersey swap of the week. I feel like this guy slotting into the left center back role was arguably the best defender we had on the field. And the stats kind of back that up. So in this match, he had the most tackles with 3. He won the most duels with 12. But what I think that we haven't seen a lot in our center backs that in the past we've done really well with is long passes and passes into the final third. Sam, in this match, Engel had 15. Matt Miazga had 3, and Miles Robinson had 7. Lucas Engel has just been unbelievable in that role, and I think, props to Pat and the whole staff for finding, kind of a diamond in the rough in terms of a loan. You don't know what position necessarily he's going to play, to start, and then to have him kind of slot into that center back role so well, it's been honestly impressive. If you look at Fatma, he's, I believe, the second highest rated player on our team this season behind Evander and Buka. I'm super happy. I hope that we trigger that loan. I really want him to be a full-time FCC player.
Yeah, he absolutely has been Mr. Consistent. And like you had said, just being able to just convert, right? Playing more as a center back for us and being that left-sided center back too. Yeah, I think he's done a phenomenal job. I think starting out, we've talked about this all season, the growing pains, right, that he had to kind of learn with playing more of the center back. But now he's kind of finding his rhythm and becoming a mainstay, right? And almost a solidified back line. You're looking at the back line going, it's not really, hey, it's Matt, Miles. It's definitely Engel in there now. Like it's not a question that those three are our best back line.
Yeah, and I think honestly it has something to do with probably the other guys around saying, I really enjoy playing with him as well. And you see a little bit more connection between them and maybe better communication, because unfortunately he had been forced to be played into that role, and it's worked out well that he's had that time to develop that relationship. And now, like you said, let's see it consistently kind of play throughout the end of the season. He's fully won that spot. It's just a question of staying healthy now for these guys and seeing what that looks like. And the pairing with him and Orishano, I still think can improve a little bit. And, at least talking like we mentioned earlier on in the episode, hey, do I need you to come back and help me out? Because there's a lot of times that Engel's stuck one-on-one with defenders, and he does a decent job at that, but he needs some help when guys are overlapping, and he needs somebody to kind of step out on him. So, but overall, been very pleased.
Yeah, absolutely. But Ryan, to go into the cards of the week, my card of the week, actually, hold on. My card of the week will go into our next segment. So why don't you go ahead with your card of the week?
Yeah. So, Sam, my card of the week, I still haven't seen any of this out in the MLS spirit anywhere, but I saw Liverpool rock an away kit, a green away kit, a long sleeve one that's just unbelievable. And that is how you do a retro kit. I'm kind of sick of, let's give Nashville this retro kit like we saw in this one, or let's see, Charlotte get one because they've been around for so long. We've touched on this as a card before, but the long sleeve jersey has to come into the MLS, and I need it this year, and I need it for Cincinnati.
Ryan, I think everybody is with you in that sentiment that we need long sleeve jerseys being able to at least be sold, right? I don't care if my favorite player wears one. I at least want to wear one, that's in the team store. Being able to pick up those Liverpool green jerseys are definitely one to watch for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it's an easy thing to do. It's a little bit more fabric, but the price is probably going to be astronomical if they do come out. But Sam, you got to walk us through your card of the week. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. So obviously, like I said, my card of the week will kind of go into the next segment, but my card of the week is going to be speed, preferring Gold Star over Skyline. I've got nothing but love for speed and how he displayed the city of Cincinnati this past week, but man, we need to have a serious talk about these chili takes. Like my guy went on the record saying Gold Star over Skyline, and honestly, I just can't let it slide. I can't. We've got Nick Hagglund himself, on video grilling speed about his order, trying to understand why anyone would pick, Gold Star over Skyline. And in my opinion, Ryan, I don't know if this will get to speed or not, but picking Gold Star for him is like picking Messi over Ronaldo.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know, but
Whoa.
Skyline isn't just food, it's a lifestyle, but I think he needs to redeem himself and go try the Skyline breakfast at the airport.
That's interesting. It's like picking Messi over Ronaldo. For all those who don't know, IShowSpeed, probably by all accounts the biggest streamer on the internet right now, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, everywhere, was from Cincinnati, from College Hill, I believe, was in town doing kind of his US tour, visiting. But to Sam's point, was talking a lot about, his old spots that he used to go to. And it was very interesting to see. He was talking about graders at one point, but then I heard the chili talk. And I think for a lot of people in Cincinnati, especially, it's pretty one-sided. So I think, that threw a lot of people off guard.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what he was thinking, but hopefully, like I said, he's able to redeem himself a little bit. But to kind of go into the next one, like Ryan said, Speed was in Cincinnati. This was, if you haven't seen it, you've been living under a rock, because this man has he took over Cincinnati in a 24-hour period, right? If your kids weren't at school, they were probably trying to find Speed wherever he was, at the mall, at Gold Star Chili, at TQL Stadium, like everywhere he went, people were trying to go see him. And he has, Ryan, roughly 131 million followers or subscribers across all platforms. So Ryan mentioned YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, etc. This kid's huge, and he's only 20 years old. So he has found stardom since 2021. He's collaborated with stars like Ronaldo, KSI, stuff like that. Your 5-year-old all the way up to your 25-year-old probably knows who Speed is. So the highlights of him kind of being in Cincinnati, Jeff Birding immediately signs him as an FC Cincinnati player. He gets his own kit, everything like that, at the Mercy Health Training Center. And then once again, Ryan, he just couldn't get Evander's name right. Like,
that should be the card of the week.
Well, he immediately saw him and he was like, Endeavor. And he was like, no, dude, like the boxer, like Evander Holyfield.
He still butchered it.
Yes, and he still butchered it. But yeah, it was really cool to see him kind of hanging out with Nick Hagelin too. Two Cincinnati kids just chopping it up. They did PKs against each other. Nick was, ragging on him about, all the Cincinnati stuff. And they did a little like quick agility game as well. Very cool to see that.
Yeah, and for those who are listening, like, why should I care about this? I feel a little bit the same with you, but at the same token, like, Speed is just such a huge brand, and from the standpoint of him being from Cincinnati, he went. A lot of his account is based around soccer, so I think that's why it's important for us to cover it too. But to wear the jersey, to have all these videos of him out, at the training facility and at the stadium. Like, he didn't go to the Reds stadium. He didn't go to the Bengals stadium. He was rocking the Ellie De La Cruz jersey at one point in a Bengals shirt. So, he did give some love there. But to just kind of rep the brand worldwide is huge. I think that's awesome. It makes us more of a global known thing. If somebody's like, oh, like FC Cincinnati, I saw him in a Speed jersey, I think that's pretty cool if that gets, that person to even know us a little bit more. A lot of the proceeds or money that he made off of his stream, Sam, was donated to local foundations as well. And he had the West End soccer players that were playing at TQL, which, again, very, very cool that he was kind of doing those things. He didn't have to, and coming back and doing that. So definitely happy our club, found a way to be involved with all of that. Just was kind of a surreal day, I think a lot of people would say.
Crept up on us. Like, it was nobody, wild. Obviously, nobody outside the organization knew it was happening. So just getting a notification that Speed's at Mercy Health Training Center was kind of crazy. But I think the funniest thing for you and I, Ryan, was the fact that, in the stream, he wants to race Miles Robinson. Miles Robinson's like, nah, just kidding. Just
they said that him or Alvis were the fastest players.
Yeah. So Nick Hagelin was like, well, Alvis Powell, like, our,
and this is Speed's thing.
Jamaican
player. To race people live.
Yeah. So Alvis wasn't there at training. If you haven't seen our clip, go look on our socials and you can watch it there. But he ends up running into Alvis Powell later at Kenwood Mall just randomly. And Ryan, if you kind of want to just describe that real quick before I'm going to pull up some of the messages. We were messaging with Alvis. I'm going to pull these up real quick if you want to kind of comment on that.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because, they're asking him, well, if he's the fastest player, where's he at? Like, I'll race him right now. And Nick's like, no, he's home. And he's like, home, like in Jamaica? And he's like, no, he's at his house. And he's like, what's he doing? Is he on vacation? And he's like, no, he's done with training. He's just gone for the day. And then for the very next location for him to go was Kenwood Mall. And Alvis is just outside of the mall. Like, hey man, I've been waiting for you to race with you. And he's like, oh, that's cool. And kind of just brushes him off. Probably doesn't even know who he is. But it was a hilarious moment.
No, yeah. So what Alvis had said was exactly that, right? He's like, we've been waiting on this guy all day at training, and the moment I left, he showed up. And then he said that nobody texted him, but the next morning when he went to training, everybody was telling him, that Speed showed up. And they were like, yeah, tell him, I'll see him at the mall, right? And then the big question that I asked him was, well, in the offseason, are you going to race him, right? And he was like, no, actually, coach, was preparing us for this because, like you said, Speed loves to race people. And I guess Pat Noonan had instructed all of the players, do not race him. Do not. We have huge games coming up. We don't want anybody getting injured in a race against Speed. And I was like,
the big news out of it.
That's pretty smart.
Does Coach Noonan, does he subscribe to Speed then? Does he know what Speed's about? Is that how he
his kids got to know, Ryan? His kids got to put him on game,
I love that. So, as we move along, SC26, we'll touch on the FIFA video game. We like to give you guys the ratings for the FC Cincinnati players. I know a lot of people look into this and kind of see where we fit. Among the highest rated players in the MLS, we have Evander rated as a 79 and Denke as a 77. I believe Messi is still up there, as the top 84, 85, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So Evander's not super far off the pace. I think he should still be a little bit higher, especially with him being an MVP candidate. But then we do have a lot of other players that are in the top 10 of kind of each of the attributes. So Sam, if you want to walk us through some of these.
Yeah, it was actually, honestly, some of these were surprises, and FC Cincinnati is represented in all 6 of these attributes, which is really cool. So in passing, Evander was represented, finishing Denke, physicality, Denke as well, which is honestly a surprise to me. Obviously, he's a physical guy, but
have you seen that guy? Come on.
I know. But pace, Alvis Powell and Luca Orishano. Alvis Powell continues to stake his claim as one of the fastest guys in the MLS. And then you've got dribbling with Evander. And then another surprise for me, Obi actually is one of the top defensemen as well.
It's pretty impressive to see. And this is all top 10 of each attribute in the MLS, I believe. Yeah. So, not necessarily worldwide, but still, pretty cool to see. I think our team should be pretty highly rated. It's always fun to kind of see how you can do with them and what that looks like on a video game. But Sam, as we roll along, we had a lot of FC Cincinnati call-ups, academy call-ups for international breaks here. We can start kind of rolling through and give these guys their flowers, but U15, a guy with a great name, Ryan Schotterbeck, I believe, U15 United States national team, which is coming up here the 12th through the 19th. So currently going on, actually, 4 different guys in the 16s, one from the 18 as well. A name that a lot of people will kind of recognize is Adamir Chavez from the U18s for actually the Mexican national team, which will be interesting to see. Well, actually, he already completed it, didn't he?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to going forward.
That's more what I meant, because he was a dual national.
Yeah. So now him getting called up into that U16 Mexican national team camp, we'll see kind of what his future looks like. As we've seen him be an MLS Next Pro All-Star, and now getting called up for a national team. Credit due to him. And then last person, right? We actually had the U16 head coach for FC Cincinnati. Kind of spent some time with the U17 youth national camp for the U.S. men's national team. So thought that was pretty cool that even our coaches are getting some praise as well.
Yeah, shout out Coach Lijak, famous U.S. national team player, actually, I believe, and a pretty good MLS player too. So, but yeah, pretty cool to see the academy being built up that way. We're finally to the point where I think we can state ourselves as one of the upper echelon, but now we need to, again, translate these guys to the first team. Part of what we hadn't really mentioned earlier on was the transactions that come out of who's available for this match against Nashville, Sam. So Kenji Mamba Dem actually had been loaned back down to the FCC2 team. They recently had just unfortunately lost to the Chicago Fire 2. But that opened up a spot for some of our other guys to be able to play, and it opened up that international spot we needed for Samuel Giddy. We were wondering for a while there. The club finally announced it after the match. So Mama Dem likely going to be with the Twos for the rest of the season. They sit right now 2 points back, I believe, from the playoff line. Is that correct?
No.
I read that completely wrong.
Yes, read it completely wrong.
They do need points.
Yes, they needed points out of this
points.
game that they lost. But Ryan, they were up 1-0 and conceded 2 late goals and lost 2-1 to Chicago Fire 2. So now they sit 7 points behind the last playoff spot. Doesn't really look good for them in their playoff hopes, with 4 matches left as well for them. But it doesn't get any easier for them. Next match is coming Sunday against New England Revolution 2, who are second in the East. I don't think they've dropped points in a while. So going to be a tall task for the FCC2 team. Did we
touch on the fact that Brian Schaefer got loaned to Indy 11?
I don't think so. We can touch on it. Yeah. Brian Schaefer got loaned to Indy 11. If you hadn't
there
seen
you go. I think that probably has to do with the fact that, we're running out of games and maybe Indy has more going into the playoff picture.
Well, now that's the second player, right? So if you're not familiar, Amir Dali also got loaned out this season too. So also, was that Birmingham, right? I believe.
Yeah, Birmingham, I believe.
Yeah, so that's the second player to a USL championship team. So yeah, obviously we're good and bad. I think FCC2, obviously developmental guys, they're doing good, but I mean Schaefer and Dali are getting minutes in USL Championship, which is probably a step above, the quality that we're seeing at MLS Next Pro, because you're playing against grown men at that point.
Yeah, that's from all we're hearing. For a while they were trying to figure out kind of the tiers and where does the Next Pro level kind of sit. I think a lot of ex-players have kind of chimed in on that and have stated, guys are playing for their livelihood in the championship. And that's kind of cool to see that some of our guys are going to that level and they can see a little bit more pressure applied, moments that seemingly mean a little bit more, not that Next Pro doesn't. But I just feel like those games mean maybe a little bit more, especially against bigger opponents or let's say with bigger crowds potentially in some of the USL situations. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what next year looks like for this team. We've, obviously last year first, in the East, coming to this year, so much turnover in the roster. What does that look like for the first team? I think historically, like, we're going to pick and choose, from some players, but I don't know if a ton of guys are going to get some looks just based on the way that this organization wants to run things, unless it's a big standout guy or, a Dotto that breaks through.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the turnover or the disadvantage with being so good, as FC Cincinnati has been over the past 3 seasons. You don't really get to see that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I still think that I'd prefer the winning route, obviously. And the way that we got there, seems to be working well. But is that sustainable long term? That's a different conversation.
Yeah, I don't know. And like you said, maybe if they're not able to break into our team, maybe we're able to sell these guys off so that way they can, get playing time somewhere else and hopefully grow their career individually. For sure. We always wish the best for players like that, especially the homegrown ones. But Ryan, I think the younger audience has stayed with us, this longest second half of the podcast has been all young person stuff. But if you're in the older crowd, hey, thanks for sticking with us as well. But as we go into match day 33 preview, we're going out west. Like we said, LA Galaxy, first time ever playing at the Galaxy Stadium, Ryan. This will be new for us. And hopefully, maybe we'll get a little, wink, wink from Tommy G when he gets out there. Maybe he'll let us know how good it is in one of his posts. But second time ever playing LA Galaxy. First time was back in 2019 in front of 32,000 plus in a 2-0 loss, just to see the man, the myth, the legend, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So Ryan, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time. It's honestly impressive. It's been, 6 years since we played the Galaxy. How is that possible?
Well, like Tommy said, COVID, right? We were supposed to play him during COVID and that just didn't happen.
I mean, even that would have been, 2019, then 2020,
We played
so a year
LAFC
later.
twice since then.
I know, that's what I'm saying is we played the LA or not Galaxy. We played LAFC, a lot more, it seems like. Is that a scheduling tactic? Obviously the Galaxy win.
They don't want the
last
smoke.
year.
They don't want the smoke.
They don't want the smoke. Yeah, for sure. Well, right now the Galaxy are not in the greatest of forms this season, like I mentioned. So 4 wins in, I believe, 9 draws and 16 losses for 21 points, sitting in last place in the West. It's not been good
the
for
entire
them.
MLS.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Pretty bad. I don't know if Ricky Puig or Puig or however you want to say his last name is back. So it'll be interesting going out west. It's seemingly always difficult for a Cincinnati, fan standpoint for the other teams, but FC Cincinnati loves playing Western Conference opponents. Like, we have not lost a single game this year against a Western Conference team. So hopefully we can cap that off, especially in this match. We need it, honestly, if you want to stay in the Shield race. Is this a match, Sam, I'll pose this question to you, that we can maybe boost a little bit of our goal differential too, or is that too zealous to look at and just get the win?
I think the Pat Noonan in me wants to say, hey, let's take it one game at a time and let's not look past any opponent, right? Because we're still talking about the MLS Cup champions from last season. So, but yes, at some degree, you're looking at this going, hey, this could be a real confidence boost for our attack, and maybe even a little bit of our midfield, right? To get involved and to see more of that chemistry, right? Building. That's the biggest thing. If we win, that's great. But trying to build this thing into the playoffs is an even bigger picture.
That's where I struggle, Sam, because, we're starting to see a little bit of heavy legs. They had, this international break, which seemingly hopefully gave the players a little bit of a refresh. But then you see these guys go down. You have the cramps from Anunga. You see, like we talked about with Miazga. So I was going to talk about this part with Samuel Giddey, Sam. I really think that, Anunga probably is going to be able to start, but I really think that Pat might put Giddey in and get him some minutes here just so he's prepared for the end of the season. Worst case scenario, he's getting, thrown in if Anunga can't go. Then he's got that connection with Buka. Why not try to see what he can do out west against the Galaxy? I think that would be pretty special.
Ryan's getting giddy about Giddey, guys.
I'm getting giddy about Giddey.
I mean, that's a good shout. That's a good shout. I think so. You're saying we might see some rotation, possibly, not just because of obviously we stated injury early on, but just because of the tired legs.
Or travel out west and, then from this stretch past this game, you have some tough matches with Orlando afterwards. And so I really think that if you get some of these guys off the bench, maybe you get a big impact from them down, the stretch of the game too. For all of that being said, what does your back line look like then, Sam?
It's a great question. Great question. I mean, if Matt's going to be out for a while, like we kind of suspect,
I hope it's not a while.
A while would be like a couple of weeks rather than, back on the bench at the, best case scenario.
Sure.
So yeah, I think backline, you see Engel slot in like normal. Miles kind of moves into the middle, and then probably Hagelin, honestly, in that right center back spot. And then I think the pieces in which you can kind of rotate, if you will, you can play a little bit with, if you wanted to start Ender instead of Marchuk on the right side, throw Giddey in the middle. Up top, I don't want you to mess with up top, though. I need those guys to get as much chemistry together as possible. Like you said, we left a lot on the field with Brenner and Evander and Denke. Denke needs to start this next game with those three so that way the chemistry can continue to build.
Yeah, no, I feel perfectly okay with that too. Now is the game to kind of play a little bit around with that.
Not too much, though.
Not too much. I think obviously they see the moment. You can't go out there and not get a result. I think that's a failure. So there's pressure, but at the same token, like this is a game a little bit here to kind of play with some things and see what it looks like. We don't know what Roman looks like as well. And coming out of injury, he was out, completely. He wasn't even questionable. So does that mean a couple more weeks for him? I don't even know what the injury is.
Wouldn't be mad based off of Loro's performance last week.
Yeah, no, I think we have a strong backup, as we talk about the Bengals backups here, but Loro being, that guy, he, I think, has worked very well with the back line too. And communication is always important with a backup coming in. He seems to kind of slot in and be very comfortable with that. So all that being said, Sam, prediction wise, what do you got?
I'm going to go 3-1 on this one. I know it's a little, out there considering this FC Cincinnati team loves 1-goal games, but I feel like we slot one away late, maybe give us a 3-1 little cushion. So I'm going to go 3-1 here. What are your thoughts?
2-0. I think a 2-0 victory, a clean sheet would work wonders for the back line, especially, with Miazga likely to be out for this one. I really think that the stars per se will shine brightest, out in LA. I think a lot of those guys will want to perform well, out in that setting. Again, it's kind of a meaningless game for the Galaxy, but for some of these guys, hey, I'm visiting LA, I want to show out. I think you see Evander continue his push for an MVP, and I think he gets at least a goal contribution. I think Denke needs to get on the score sheet to really kind of build for a playoff run. We need to get him going. And you saw him sky, 2 balls over. So if he can kind of right that, that would be huge for this team.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But Ryan, as we cap this episode off, trivia question answer for you. We've got, when was the last time FC Cincinnati had a defender occupy a designated player spot? Ryan, you had said never. It's never happened. And you would be right. We have never had a defender as a designated player. Miles Robinson will be the first defender in FC Cincinnati history to stake that claim.
There's not a lot around the league. We mentioned Walker Zimmerman. He's the highest paid one. Now Miles will be. But besides that, I think there's an NYCFC guy that was up there as well at one point. There's not a lot of DP center backs. And, if we moving forward want to see a sustainable team year after year, like we have, like the defense has to be consistent and it has to be good. And they've been okay this year. We've just been able to find ways to win matches, but we'll see where that goes.
Well,
go back earlier if you want to hear our whole conversation about that. But
like you said, like Teenage Hadebe used to be a DP, yeah. Right?
Dude, look at the game that they have, that little transfer game where they hold up the pennies. The green team had 6 designated players on that team.
Point, yeah.
At one point. So does FC Cincinnati have more DPs on the roster than Miami does?
Let Chris cook.
That's impressive. I mean, Kubo, Hadebe, Evander, Denke, Brenner, Miles. Probably should have been Matt Miazga. Yeah. It's impressive.
Yeah. The quality, man. Real nice.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. But yeah, I think that's a good close on this one. Thanks for everyone who stayed tuned or went through the whole episode, I should say. We're really looking forward to a late night MLS match against the Galaxy. I think this is a good opportunity to go out there and get 3 points and build towards possibly what could be another Supporters Shield. I'm rocking it tonight. I want to see another one. Give us 2 plates. I'll take it. We'll see you guys next week.